Okay, so now we're on page 185. You've just finished the chapter on drawing wheeled vehicles. In fact, I think there might be one or two more pages in this chapter, but you've got all the basics of drawing wheeled vehicles in perspective now. And I thought I would do just a recap since the last video that actually opened at this chapter. And I'm using the perspective grid off of, it's under a couple sheets here. The perspective grid that's off of page 166, it's on the bottom. So if you wanted, you could actually trace over that grid or make a copy and then follow along and use the exact same perspective grid that I'm using here for this demo. So let's, usually when you start to do a drawing like this is much more akin to model building, as the text has been talking about throughout the chapter. And so usually I have a design in mind before I would take the time to start drawing it in this sort of detail. But let's just rough one out first, see if we can come up with something. And I'll just hit on the high points of the drawing construction, which is the most important thing I'm trying to communicate here in this book and in this chapter, and especially with this video. And design is a whole other book, so maybe we'll get lucky, maybe not. So I'm just gonna, let's just try, see what we get. So even though I know exactly what the degree is there with my ellipse guide, sometimes I just like to start freehand, make some adjustments. Like that rear wheel is the same exact size as the front wheel, because I'm gonna do a front 3/4, so maybe I wanna make it a little bit larger. So I keep the same degree, make it a little bit larger. So keep in mind, these guides are just for the perspective construction. It doesn't dictate your proportion at all, so feel free to modify them. There's my center line. I'll keep the width. Let's just draw through here a center line. And on my center line plane is there. And a couple of guidelines going to my left vanishing point. And you can see how much faster and simpler it is, of course, when you have a grid underneath. Accuracy goes up, speed goes up. So generally speaking, it's a good idea. Let's see, let's transfer this, where the wheel's touching the ground, let's transfer that and the height over to the center. And I'm going to draw, let's see, is that really the height of the wheel? Looks a little bit low to me. I think right about there is the right line. And let's just draw freehand in an ellipse there. It's a little bit fat. This is fairly slow convergence, so we're not getting a lot of degree change from this side to the far side and from here to the back. I think this is a 30. This is a 20. So we're only getting a -10 degree shift front to back. And across, I don't know if it's labeled, but I could check it. 40. So we're getting a 10 that way as well. So we're getting a +10 and a -10. And the reason for that is that they're almost the same distance from here. So if I say that this is 30, right, and we go this direction and we go this direction away, we'd expect to see the same degree change. Right, if we go this way at the equal distance, we'd expect to see the same thing. And we're about at the same position away, right? So that's why we have 10 on each direction. Okay, back to constructing the car. Let's rough in loosely the rear wheel location and the size. I made it a bit larger. Put it on the center line. Something about like that. Okay, and then let's draw the side view of the car. And I'm just going to block out a very basic shape just to get us started with something, and go through all the same steps that are in the book, which gets a little bit more complicated. Let's see, how tall do I want it to be? About 1.5 wheels maybe. Let's go a little bit more, almost up to 2 wheels. Okay, so that's my basic shape. And now I want to start to think about that's along the center line, but what's happening out here along the shoulder, along the sides. So what I'm going to do is combine basically side view with sections, X sections that go across the front, the top, and we're going to connect a side shoulder line across the center line back over to the mirrored shoulder. And maybe we'll also put in a 2-curve combo maybe. In fact, let's do a 2-curve combo here. Let's take and draw a top view on the ground. Let's do, start narrow at the front. And let me take the position of my A-pillar at center, and I know the side is probably going to be, if I drew the side view here as well, where the shoulder was going to be, it's probably about there. So that's kind of the outward position of my A-pillar base, where it starts. And so if I go down to the ground and I want the A-pillar, let's say, to start in about this far from the exterior, I want my curve across the hood is going to flow into the A-pillar, up onto the roof line, and then down to the back. So in top view, I want to start my line here and then have it hit sort of tangent right at the A-pillar. Okay. Now if I knew how much tumble home I wanted, I could actually go in here and drop in a section and then draw left and right. And then there's the bottom of the car at center, and then here's the top of the car. We can just draw it flat for now. And let's see, if I had a side view of my windshield, of the window, let's say it's somewhere down in here, could bring that out. Where's the position? We go up, and it looks like I want it to be in at the base, about like that. So that's roughly the base of the side window, and it looks like it's going to have a little bit of curvature across the top here. And then now you could set your tumble home angle. And once you set, so let's do something about like this. It's not going to be that extreme. And then a little radius, and then a little curve up to the roof line. So you can start setting these sort of template or these sections wherever you want, and that can help you to guide where your other curves are going to go. So there I know that my pillar line in top view here on the ground would go like this, and then it would go back to the back, and then I have to decide what's going to happen back there. I don't know yet, so I'm just going to let it go. Okay, so we could actually start to draw this now. Here's the height of the hood at center. Here's my wheel. My wheel well, of course, is going to be up a little bit and out to cover the tire. And let's see, here's my 2-curve combo. So I want to do a break between this. And what do we want it to look in side view, right? We can draw it over here first. Well, maybe I want it to roll out of this pillar, down onto the hood. And then maybe we want to exaggerate over. Maybe I want that line to actually exaggerate over the fender. So it's actually going to be like my ellipse for a moment and stick up above the hood. And then it's going to drop back down, go to my A-pillar. So this is my side view. You could draw it out here as well and then move it in to this line. And then it's going to be bending. And then let's just pull this down side view, down to the ground. Okay, let's say I want this side view along with this top view. So let's see what we get. So I'm just pulling my sections. This is where it ends, so I pull it out. This is the 2-curve combo, so I can go up. All right, and now I know I have a section here. I'm not following my guidelines that well today. Let's see. And you can start to draw across as well, because you know you're going to end up mirroring it. So what happens? First it starts heading up straight, and then it's got to be influenced by this guy. So where is that going to come into play? Well, we can go here, we can go across, and we can take, here's the 2-curve combo, here's the height. I can bring that over. So there's the position, and that needs to be like this ellipse. So just look at that ellipse when you draw here, because this is not that curved. It's really just going to be a little bit more open than this degree. And then here's the curve, and I could take that across That'll help me to think about where that's going to go. And you can see I'm only drawing a couple little lines. And there's, yep, looks like about like that. And then it's going to duck back down here. Okay, we could take that down to the ground. We could go over, hit our position, go up. There's our point. Okay, and then it's going to straighten out for a moment. And it's going to follow this curve. So you could really just look at that curve and draw it up again here, the angle, like this, up until it hits the base of the A-pillar, which is there. And then it's going to curve and go up into the roof. So that's going to head up like this. Okay, and then it's going to head down to the tail. Let's just go ahead and run it. Let's just run it straight back like this. Let's find the length at the back. Let's go out. Let's go up. And when you're drawing a car like this, or any object, you know, you can get all these hard points in, the points you've decided you want to lock down. And then you can always do overlays to add curvature, add details, radius things, and make adjustments. So don't worry about, you know, not getting the greatest style on the first time when you're trying to build. You're basically model building, like you're building this model in the computer. And now we could add a couple sections. I think I will tighten up my wheel now. Let's see, minor axis looks to be about here. That's going to be the tire. Like so. And there's my wheel. And let's give it a little bit of dish inward. Okay. And let's see, this one's not quite large enough. Let me go grab another ellipse guide. Okay, so here's a larger ellipse guide. And let's put that wheel well over. So what I'm going to do, because I know the side body is going to just bend inward a little bit, I'm just going to tilt that minor axis a little bit and cheat it and then pull it out a little bit to cover. That will allow us to see into the wheel well a bit here, and then towards the front it starts to cover the tire a little bit more. Okay, and then let's see, let's also put a fender, like a little flat on there. Let's see what size that was. This one. Let's go up a bit. I'm going to put a little, you'll see this on a lot of modern cars, this little mirror of the wheel well line. And that's where, let's say, if this was the center of my rim, there's the section of my tire, and then sticking out just a little bit from there is that. There's the wheel well, and so it goes straight up, and then it's going to get to there. So I'm just going to spin the page and add a little section through here. And then let's try dipping the section through here a little bit. So a little concavity through there, and then it's going to go and here have a slight convex section up to the center line. Because remember, the center line is actually lower than this little fender bulge here over the top of the front wheel. Okay. Now, if I was free sketching and just looking for design, of course, I'd be drawing the whole thing. So I'd be thinking about the car and the round, the whole thing. But when I'm starting to model build, I can actually start to just build one half, much like I would do in the computer, and then mirror it across. And then if I need to make adjustments for the styling, I can do an overlay. Let's go here. So if I drew straight out, that would be the position of the base of the windshield. Here it would be at center. So I got a slight curvature here, like so. And all right, and then I'm out here, and I'm this high off the ground at this position. Let's pull that, based on this, let's pull that over to the wheel. So it's kind of just a mirror of this, but I want it to go out and cover a little bit more of the wheel. So this wheel, when it comes into here, the wheel well, it's going to go kind of inward a little, which makes this line straighter, and then this one curves inward a little bit more. Then we could find the height bring it out to our center, and then go forward and back until we hit that line. So this one's tucked in behind, this one's running down like that, and then it's going to be here. For now, it's just going to run down like that, and then I've got to get from there over to here. So maybe I want this to actually flare a bit, or maybe I want to pull that in even a little bit further. So maybe I'm going to imagine now that there's a little break line through here, and that's going to actually undercut further. So we don't have to go as far to get over here. But I am going to do make it a little concave through there. And that's blending the position of this two curve combo brake line coming down the front. And then here it is at the very front of the car. And I'm just going to leave it chiseled off. We're just trying to make a big basic car shape with all the technical perspective constructions. So let's see, do I want to go, we have an option here, we can go curved, right, and tangent at the front, or we could leave a little break at the center. In fact, we could leave a little bit of this influence of this X section right here. Let's take that concavity and run it all the way down. So we just see a little influence there, and then let's run over like this with a little bit of curvature to a point. Okay, and if I was going to do the shadow or the top view of that on my Z-plane, right here, it would look like this. Like that, that. Then the position here, right, we found the height, and we know where that front wheel well is coming down there in side view, but we know it here, so we can just go across. And there it is there, and it's straight out, and then it's slight concavity, like so. And then that would be going out tangent here, covering the wheel if it was top view. So it would look like this in top view. And maybe I want to tuck it in just a little bit. And then we haven't figured out what's going on with this brake line as it continues to the back. I think we'll probably give it a little Coke bottle shape here, and we'll taper it to the back. So I could take that brake line out of this top view and say, well, it's going to do, let's find the width of the rear wheel, front to back, and let's take it down to the ground, come forward a little bit. So now I'm drawing in my top view for this rear fender that we're going to put in, and that's going to be my top view line on the ground of a brake line that's running right through here. So what I want to do is mimic that line, but what does it look like in side view? Well, side view, it's kind of crossing the center here, going upward, and now you have to just look through your car and look only at the center line plane and draw that in. So it's going to go something like that. And so it crosses the rear wheel roughly, well, it crosses the center right about there, here at the front, so it's kind of an angle like this. And then I want to influence with this guy. So if you wanted to just put one section, is probably all you need. Right through here, go back over to center, go up, go out, and there is the position. And so you can decide what you're going to do with that. Also, you need to check where is it in relation to the, the window. So the belt line of the car right through here. Right, and that was right about at the same spot. So right now that tells me that this section through here is going to be pretty straight above and below. Now we could do whatever we want above and below, just as long as it goes through those 2 points. If you want to have this curve, if you want this curve in top view, and you want it to do this in side view, right, it's another 2 curve combo, and you just have to go with those points here and there, and then you make adjustments after if you don't like it. So that's going to do something about like that, and then it's going to curve, and it's going to point down into here. So it's actually angled quite a bit upward. And then right through here, they were basically, it was a straight line between there and there. And we have the base of our window here, and I'm just going to pull that window graphic up like that. So you can see this is getting a little bit more complex. I mean, it is all the basic section drawing things that we have covered in the book, but now you're sort of doing a lot of those two curve combos, a lot of those constructions simultaneously. You're doing them right on one shape, so the shape's getting more and more complex. Playing with where I want the top of the windshield to go. You see a little bit of the curve of the offset, so if that's what it looks like in side view, that's where it hits my pillar, that's the curve. Okay, so let's mirror it over and we'll just see what we get, and then you can always do adjustments. Oh, I should probably let's draw a bottom line in here somewhere. That's probably leaving out of here. We could let it be influenced, let's just make it positive coming out of here and inward a little bit. Let's take, where's the height? There from my side view. I'm going to go forward a little bit. I'm going to go in just a little bit. That's going to be the section. And then I really want it to just be a full curve there. And then maybe that will allow us to come in here and put a little form relief like that, a little step. So if I was to draw the section through there, it would basically, see, I came forward, in, so it was a bit positive. So this sticks out a little bit further. Then it looks like that. Then it goes up to that break line, and then this guy is inward just a little bit. So it's something like that. Okay, let me tighten up that rear wheel. Then let's mirror this, and we'll see what we get. And that's basically all the steps. And then it's, the steps for me don't really change. I only needed a couple sections across. I'm playing a lot with top view, trying to get those curves to work all the way across, thinking top view, side view, have all those two curve combinations influence each other. Just going to find my left vanishing point here a little bit. That was the original minor axis. I want it to go a little bit larger. My rear wheel, a little larger than the front wheel, and let's go ahead and put the tire on there. Really just trailing edge more than anything, the silhouette of it, and then my rim, or the wheel, and let's do a nice deep dish on that one. And let's go a little bit larger for the wheel well. Let's tilt it a little bit to cover. We see into it, and then it covers a little bit the front. And then right about through there, it's going to start to turn under. So I'm going to get that happening at the back, and then this one's going to disappear like that. Okay, and what's the section? Well, here's the rim. That means my wheel well is just slightly outboard of that. And need to have a little flat like we have at the front. Okay, and where am I here at center? Go back to the middle, go back up, find the height, maybe a little bit of curvature across there, then maybe down just a little bit, and then out, a little positive curve. I'm starting to hint that there's some sort of concavity blending between this rear fender and this brake line we have here, and then maybe I want to even emphasize that at the back of the car, and maybe it ducks in and behind, and we actually see the influence of that curve right through here. Okay, well, let's mirror that and see what we've got. Again, you can do it either way. I could have started on the outsides. Like earlier in the chapter, I start with a lot of cars. I think it doesn't really matter how you do it. You need to get comfortable building these boxes with wheels. Okay, so you need to get comfortable building a grid, right, with 4 wheels, establishing your proportions. I'm just going to guess here at this one. I just want to emphasize another way that was explained earlier in the chapter So it's basically, it's two cylinders, right, lying on the ground parallel to each other. And then whether you draw the side view of an object, well, let's do a wagon, okay, or they do a side view on each side and you mirror that across to the other side, like this, and just straight up on the sides. Okay, whether you do that, and then you start to add your tumble home by shaving some off of each side. Okay, that's totally valid, and it really just depends how are you comfortable once you start building the shapes. And then you can pull your center line forward a little bit, get a little bit of curvature, get a little bit of curvature across the, let's go up here, up across the top of the hood, and that's going to flow into here. My old center line was there, pull it forward a little bit, so we get a little curvature across the windshield, a little bit across the, move the center line over. And so you could build from the sides and go in and then play with the center line. Okay, or you could go inside out and you could start with the center line here and then draw your break line and then blend everything together. And that this kind of a soft side view in a way, because the side view is really here at the front, right, at this break line. And then we're gonna have this little line right through there, that little fillet that blends out, right? So there's really the side, there's really not a strong, there's a strong corner in that this is a nice crease and a nice break line, but it's not like it's like boxy so much like this one. So either way is valid, personal preference, whichever way. I'd do both. A lot of times, just depends on the vehicle I'm drawing. Okay, so let's mirror this. I know where the wheel is on the far side. Now just transfer across the lines that you need. There's the height. My wheel well is going to be a little bit outside that, so that's where it's going to start. That was a 40. Grab a 40. I think it's just going to be just large enough. Tilt it a little bit off my minor axis because it's the wheel well, not the tire. And then it started to curve right about in here, so that's where I'd want to blend that inward. And then here was that blends into there. Height. Let's see, I could draw it, transfer the top view if I want. I can go in a little bit, up. There's the position. We can mirror this guy across. I think my underlay actually already had a little line right here that was probably already mirrored. That distance was already in my underlay, so I'm just going to use that. Draw up. Okay, up here. Let's see, that's actually along this line. That's where it hits. It's a little bit outside that guy, so there's that angle. And let's go up. And there's the position. And I have a slight, let's see, what do I have? A little hollow right through here, and then round out to that center line. So hollow and round out to there, strong center line. This is going to go from here, it's going to go up, and right about here it starts its curve, so just transfer that over. Whereas this position, well, you can just go to the outside, look at the gap, go to the outside on the ground and the other side, make the gap a little bit less on the other side. This is just like the section drawing done much earlier in the book. And then take the height, add that section, add this section, something like that. Again, you know, you can fine tune all this stuff with an overlay. Okay, and this guy goes up, curve starts about there, and it's got to go through here, and it wants to end right about there. It's going to get kind of straight. That's going to be inward from the side about that far. And you can see now why having a light touch is important. because you get a lot of lines in these working drawings. And like I said, this is much more like model building, and that's the way I think about it. I don't really think about it like, doing an illustrative sketch or really a design sketch so much, like trying to illustrate a design to someone. It's really now I'm trying to actually build it and see what is it going to look like for real. And I can, spend, I don't know, this sketch is probably going to be about 40 minutes maybe total. I don't know. We'll see. But, you can do that without having to spend that much time on the computer, or you can say, well, I'm going to block out part of this on the computer, and then I'm going to draw over the top and figure out where I want all my design lines to go. So this guy comes forward out of the A-pillar. We can mirror the A-pillar over now. So if you wanted to just take the top and let's make it a little bit more accurate, we could do a box here. I've got a guideline up there for my grid underneath. I could do an X. I could find the foreshortened height of that. Go to halfway. About there, and corner through halfway. There's the point on the other side, and there's the height, little radius, little curve. So that's the section across the top. Where does this angle? Well, I'd like to sometimes extend these up just like I was doing with the airplane to figure out that angle of the wingtips. Extend that up, then go through here. I know it's kind of a slight curve, so still sort of draw it with a slight curve. And then there's the tumble home on the far side. Here's the window opening. That's going to be cutting forward like that. So that means my pillar is right in here. Like so. And that's going to bend. It's going to look a lot like the center line because it's basically just constant width down to the back. So you could mirror this across or just take a guess. Make this dimension here a little bit less than this side for the foreshortening. And then just connect it. So that's going to be my silhouette. And it doesn't look like we're going to see any of the far side wheel. You know where the wheel is. You could draw up, out. Looks like the wheel well is going to be just hiding right behind there. So we just miss it in this view. Okay. This guy has to connect through here in a nice smooth curve. Up and over the wheel, back down, and kick right after the wheel well. And so if I knew the section through here, then I could add it. And do we see any of it on the other side? Probably not. So it's going to have to come out of the wheel well like this and then just blend. So my silhouette is going to look something like this. On the far side, this is a very pronounced wheel flare or arch flare around the wheels. And let's see, we have a brake line here. That's probably just, let's just run, it goes a little negative, but let's just run it positive here. The negative part happens below that line. Okay, and so I can go over to the other side here, and then where does it hit my wheel well? Out there. That's a positive curve, like this. Then it wraps into the wheel well. That's covering the far side wheel. And then here it was a little bit negative, so that might just disappear behind there. So here's that. That is this on the other side. It's just hidden behind there. And where was the wheel well? It was out here. So it was looking something like this, and then we could show that positive curve into here as the shadow or the top view. And so if I had this, it looks like that. Let's check the position of where they're ending, just to cover a little bit more, like so. And keep in mind, it's just a working drawing, and you can always come back. Now you're going to start punching holes in it, putting on headlight graphics. And let's see if we punched a hole here, just like we were doing with the section drawing. That would start to look like this. So now I'm just wrapping lines across the surface, and maybe this goes up and then It's like a little air dam down there. Little mouth opening here for the air intake. Okay, so let's see, base of the windshield's got to get from there through here. My pillar might have a little bit of material creeping over the top there that we could see. And then, let's see, let's take this one here for the top of my windshield. I put in a sunroof if you wanted. You know where the glass is on the other side, so you could show us through here. The pillar's got some internal thickness. And then we probably see the dashboard hitting it and go straight across first, and then maybe extend our center line to the interior. Put in an instrument panel, center, wrap where it intersects that dash. Add a little thickness here to the door. Let's add a door cut, and we'll probably just call this one done. So door cut, I'm not going to go all the way to the back there, so let's look at my true angle for the tumble home. We'll probably repeat that here. I have a tiny little window, bump out for a little relief of the form around there, and then it's going to look at this section. So it's right before that starts to influence. This might start to creep out a bit, then down, over, down again, and then let's bring it forward, looking at this line along the bottom. Okay, and then I'm just going to flow out from behind here, and I need to figure out a true section through there. True section means that it's not slicing at an angle, it's slicing straight like an X-plane, like this one we put through the tumble home. So what I'd like to do is go to my center line, go straight out. I know that that's this line right here. Go down to the ground, go straight out. I know that that line is this one, and this line, oh, same line there, sorry. So I've got to get from here to here. So if you want, you can just draw a little vertical, because you can't pass that, because that's top view. So it's probably going to come out a bit, like so. And then come down, maybe we have a little relief along that brake line, so we could actually start to come back here and add a little flare to that. And then it's going to go from there down and undercut to there. So it's getting us pretty close. Yeah, that's out there, that's out there. Yeah, this is probably going in and then just bending under even further, because we cut that behind that wheel quite a bit. Okay, so now I can look at that when I draw my door cut. So I wanted to do that a bit, and then just go down here and connect. So there's my door cut. And again, it looks like an awful mess, right? But what you want to do is, if you want to do a rendering of this, just take 10 minutes, do an overlay, and then you're confident you know where everything's at. You could add your details across the hood. Let's reinforce the center line here. I went a little bit heavy there with my fender line, so it's making the center look a little bit confusing. So I'm just going to really beef that up a bit so it shows up on the camera. Okay, so those are your basic steps. You know, odd shape, and it's really round over the wheel here and here. Okay, and then it pulls out a bit in top view. So we end up with this brake line up and over. Oh, we have that little fillet through here that blends, fades out. And this little line's going to wrap up into the A-pillar here. So that's kind of our hard line through. In fact, I'll just do this. We can see it's a very strange line, this one. So it's going here, 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 then up and over like that, and then to the back. And then the mirror of that, right, was here, then up and over, and then this part here, then A-pillar, and then down to the back. And then those guys are straight across. these guys are straight across, but then there's the center line pulling outward, and then that's this one right there, much flatter through the hood, right, with these little very pronounced wheels poking out. I would say it's not probably a perfect, beautiful perspective to show that extreme wheel overlap. You're probably better off in a lower angle where you can really see this sticking over that center line. But that's why you do another view. And you can draw with confidence now, you can hopefully draw the similar proportions from a different perspective. So I think that about wraps it up for this one. That's a recap of the perspective drawing construction techniques of doing sort of regular-ish car. Overall, I'd say the car looks a little narrow. It's probably real-world proportions, but in a sketch form, it probably looks a little narrow. But overall, that's it. And if you need to change design, just do an overlay. Just pull proportions, add your brake lines, get rid of features, add your headlights, all the rest of it, and just have fun with it. But you see, it's just like model building, except you get to do it with your hand and a pen. And you'll save yourself a lot of time when it comes time to actually really build a model, or you'll save somebody else a lot of time when you ask them to build the model, and it can be built, or maybe it can't. So hope you find that helpful.